The more the Code Red went on about his story, the more I found one thing more common: relationships and the value of those relationships. Anyone in this industry knows the importance of having key relationships in the roles that they play in their careers. I wanted to know who gave Code Red his first shot as an intern in the entertainment industry, and how he parlayed that relationship into a long-lasting career.
Mona Lisa. She was working at P&P Records, and she let me come over there and help her out a little bit here and there. And then this guy named Ian Alexander. He came in, I'm trying to remember if Ian is from Queens or Brooklyn. But anyway, he's from New York. And Ian came in. I don't know how many pairs of Timbs I gave Ian before he was like, yo, you can come over to Quest Records and intern for me. And I'll never forget, I talked to this guy named John Stockton. Because I actually...
The NBA player?
No, He said, so wait a minute. You could go over to Quest Records with Ian, and then on your resume you can put that you worked for Quincy Jones. And I was like, damn, I didn't think of it like that. I was like, that's actually big. So now on my resume I can say I worked for Quincy Jones. I started out with Ian in A&R. I didn't help him. I didn't help Ian on anything. Even though they might say I ain't help him on anything because I didn't know what I was doing. And then a woman that worked there named Keisha Maldonado, she was doing press, and I went, sat with her for a little bit. Then I think Doc was doing A&R and kind of promotions. And then I ended up with this guy named Kyrie Brown. You know Jay Brown that runs Rock Nation with Jay-Z? His brother. And at the time, Jay Brown was working for Quincy's publishing company. So I was with Kyrie, and we were working on Saphir's Hit List album as a first project that I worked on.
So I want you to stop right there and talk about the importance of relationships, because that's big, what you just said. Relationships go a long way.
Yeah, relationships go. Yeah. The only problem with the relationship thing is when you're younger, you don't think about how important they are. So some of them you just be like, man, I ain't worried about them. But they all mean stuff, and you don't realize it until you get older, and you're like, damn, I wish I would have never burnt that bridge. You know what I mean? But they're huge. You know, you'll get people, even your parents, they'll tell you, if you got somebody that, you know, they're gonna try and help you get there, take that help. You know, and if Mark can help me, I could take it. Fortunately for me, when I was at Quest, they had just brought in a whole new staff. And there was a guy named Faye Duvernay and a guy named KC Saney that came in. And I latched right on to KC. And KC's another one. He's more like a brother than a mentor to me. But there's nothing that he can't ask me that I won't do.
Right, such a great guy.
Cause he's taught me the game, and he kind of reminds me of my dad in the sense of he was brutally honest with me. He's always brutally honest with me, and I could take that. So he could talk at me, and I'm not gonna take it personal because I'm so used to, like, when I was younger and I just felt like I could do whatever I want while I'm in this man's house. And my dad was like, no, he was talking at me, not to me, you know, and Kay could talk and I didn't take it personal, you know, but he also, he's the first person that sent me around the world, you know. He actually gave me my second industry job, because my first one, There's a woman named Tamika. She gave me my first job, and it was the Sweetest Thing I Ever Known video with Lauryn Hill. I was quote unquote her assistant. I didn't assist nothing. I just ended up being an extra in the video. But she came into the store because she was Lauryn Hill's stylist, and she came in the store and she needed Timbs and clothes and stuff. And so I set her up with the stuff, and then she was like, "You should just come out and help me out." I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there." So she gave me my first gig, but Casey gave me every other gig after that. And in some way, shape, or form, every other gig that I've had, he's had his hand in it somehow.
So the birth of you and KC's relationship, man, let's go to that, because that turned into be something, I mean, that was absolutely fruitful for your career, man. That really, like you said, he was the first person to really give you an opportunity to go around the world.
I don't want to put a was on it. It's is, because he's still like, let me see. Casey is a genius. He's a genius. He has 5 different degrees. You know, he came up in New York back in the day when like they had Fat Cat and Supreme running the city or whatnot. He came up during then, and he ended up going to the Marines, right? And became I think he was a drill sergeant. I believe he was a drill sergeant. He's smart beyond belief. And he used to have he had this thing with me. He was doing promotions. I never really liked promotions. Like I'm a people person to a degree. I can't force it. It's gotta be natural. And during that time, you used to call the DJs on the phone like you were doing cold calls. I hated doing cold calls. But he would say, he was like, "Yo, because I really wanted to get into A&R." He was like, "Nah, you gotta master this first. When you master that, then I'll let you do that." And that was his rule. Master that, master one first, and then move to the next, and move to the next. Unfortunately, I didn't really have to master promotions because at that time, Quest, they couldn't keep me on. Cause here's another little fun fact. I was supposed to be getting credit for school for interning. I wasn't going to school. I dropped out. I got somebody to write a fake letter for me. I turned the letter into the label and I just started interning. And then I was supposed, it was either Quest was gonna hire me or they was gonna let me go. So Mark worked it out so that I could go and work at Mad TV as a PA, because Quincy owned Mad TV with this guy named David Salzman. So I went over there, but I was still doing stuff for KC because he was keeping me afloat. And then I remember he told me, he said, "Yo, find yourself a place to live." I'm like, "With what money?" Because at that time, I was driving an hour every day from Orange County to LA. And I was just like, and sometimes I wouldn't drive home. I would just pull over somewhere and sleep in my car. And when I started working at Mad TV, Ari Spears and Nicole Sullivan, 2 of the cast members, they gave me keys to their rooms. So then I would go in their rooms and take a shower before everybody came to work, and then go back out, drive my car around the street so it wouldn't look like my car's been sitting there all night, and then go into work. Or there was this producer named Protest that worked on Saphir's album. I would crash at his house. Mona Lisa let me crash with her a couple times. And then KC was like, "Just find a place." And I was like, "I ain't got bread to get a place yet." He was like, "Man, just find a place." So I found a place. And next thing you know, he gave me keys.
Dope. So you're having all of these experiences, you're building these relationships, you're planting seeds with people, when did you actually get your first inkling that maybe tour managing might be an option?
It wasn't till I was on the road with MC Light, but I was out there as her hype man. And I know he's gonna hate when I say this, but the Gooch, her manager, I call him the Gooch. There was a lot of stuff that he didn't do that I would just go and do. And I always say I learned how to tour manage from doing the stuff that he didn't do, that he was supposed to do. But mind you, he was a manager. He was her manager. And then he had to, when we would go on the road, he'd have to be her tour manager. So, I mean, if you gotta, at least in my experience, if you have someone who has to do, they've got to do one job and that job is extremely important, but they also have to double and do something else, some things are going to fall through the cracks because their focus is going to be, if he's focusing on management, there's more of a bag there. He's going to get that big bag. Tour management ain't that big, so I would pick up the slack. And then to do Jeff that tour managed Yolanda Adams, he was like, you ever think about tour managing? And I was like, I mean, what exactly is it? He was like, you already kind of do it for Light. And then he whispered in my ear how much tour managers get paid. And I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that all day long. If they paying if I can get paid like what you just said, yeah, I can do that. That's light work. When Ant had called me and was like, yo, I want to send you on your first run. You'll be the tour manager. And I was like, all right. He said, well, I want you to come with me, and I want you to meet a good friend of mine. There's this woman named Drew Dixon. And Drew managed this singer named Estelle. And I went and met them. I was living in Brooklyn at that time. I met them in Brooklyn at this little cafe, and it was really cool, really nice. They were really cool. I love Drew to death. And I was like, I'm all right, I'm in. And that was like my first official dolo by myself. Nobody's there to hold my hands. If I can cuss? Yeah. If shit fuck up, it's on me. You know, that was my first official tour. And it was cool because, like, on the run that I did with Estelle, we would hit cities, right? We would hit a city early. Just so happened that city that we hit early, Light would have to do a show. So I would get everybody checked in, get them where they needed to be. I'd go over and get that other bag and do a show with Light, and then go back over here. Matter of fact, I did that a couple times because my first official tour with Maya, KC was the tour manager, and I would run with them all week. And then, like, just depending on where we were, I would either leave on a Thursday night or early Friday morning, meet Light, whatever city we were at, do a show with her, finish that show, get on the flight and go back to the tour. And I did that for a while until Estelle came up, and that was an interesting one.